Yes, so we are ready to start. Okay. Hello. Nice to see you here. We are Sergey and Tatiana, and today we will tell you about the efficient way for working with SQL and NoSQL and show you it on the DBeaver project. Perhaps you know that DBeaver is quite popular database manager tool for working with almost all existing data sources. It exists like a standalone application and Eclipse RCP. Nowadays, DBeaver has more than 1.5 million users around the world, 1,000 stars on GitHub, and 100 stars on Eclipse Marketplace. We are developing DBeaver about 7 years, and recently we have realized that DBeaver has tons of features, and sometimes we cannot even remember some of them. But they simplify work of a lot of people every day. So we decided to collect them and show you the main tips and tricks how to work with DBeaver and with databases. Our talk is a short fairy tale about the imaginary project. It has two main characters. It's Mike and Mary, developer and managers, and we will go through the main stages of the project and show you how DBeaver can help at each of them. So let's start. We have manager, we have developer, and they have an idea. But have an idea is not enough. Usually we need to determine what technologies and what tools we will use for our work. So our Mike is a Java developer, so he will use Java development IDE, and unfortunately they're not decided yet what database tool they will use and what database they will use. It can be MySQL, it can be MariaDB or Postgre, or maybe something from NoSQL, and they take a universal tool for further investigation, and it's DBeaver. But why DBeaver?
Well, yes, DBeaver, as Tatiana said, exists in two versions. It's standalone and Eclipse RCP. So it can be easily installed as a plugin into your favorite Eclipse IDE, for example, in Java IDE. So that's why many people decide to use DBeaver as their standard tool to working with databases. You can install DBeaver directly from Eclipse Marketplace from your favorite IDE. Besides DBeaver itself, you can also install some extensions, like, for example, Office integration, which will allow you to export data in Office format and then open them in Excel and other Office tools. So DBeaver has its own presentation, as many Eclipse tools, but of course you can work with databases in your preferred presentation, for example, from Java presentation or debugging presentation. Just open DBeaver views to manage databases. Important note that DBeaver keeps all its configurations, like connection configurations, scripts, bookmarks, and everything related to database development in Eclipse project. So you can use any your project in a workspace to keep database related stuff there, or you can create a special project just for databases and add everything in, for example, GitHub repository to exchange the data.
But okay, Mike and Mary determines this tool, and now they are ready to start. As usual, they don't have a lot of resources, they don't have a lot of time, but they need to create a pilot project as a proof of concept. Mike started to write code, and at some moment he realized that he needs a live database and some sample data for further development. And here DBeaver can help him as well.
Yeah, DBeaver supports full forward engineering process, so you can, once you connect to a database server, you can create a database, tables, columns, indexes, keys, everything. All operations are available from the context menus or from particular editors, for example, table editor. When you create entities in DBeaver, for example, you create a table and columns for this table, DBeaver doesn't persist all changes immediately. It collects changes on the client side, and when you will finish designing your tables foreign keys and everything, you can just click save or press save, and you will see SQL script with DDL, which you can double check before you perform actual save in a database. So that's quite simple. After you create database schema, you can, for a pilot project, you can use mock data generator, which is also quite powerful feature in DBeaver, which can fill your empty database with some more or less realistic data. You can assign generators for every column. So this it's not very good too, but okay. You can assign generators like, I don't know, first, last name, emails, IP addresses, credit card numbers, anything. There are tens of different generators which create realistically looking data in your table. You can fill any number of rows there, like even millions of rows, but of course it will take some time to fill your database. After all, when you have your tables and your data, you can review everything you did using entity relation diagrams. Of course, you can use it for any existing databases as well to just analyze how data is structured. Clicking on a table, you can view data in entity relation diagram. By default, all diagrams are read-only, but you can create custom diagrams, put tables from different databases on this custom diagram and connect them with your own custom relations, which don't really exist in the real world, but logically they exist. So you can colorize your diagrams and make stuff like that, but you will need to create a diagram from new object wizards in Eclipse.
Yes. So everything is okay. Mary and Mike finished the pilot project, it works, and it's time for active development. You can see that Mike works every day. He doesn't sleep, he doesn't eat, he workaholic as a Sergey, and he just writes code and does it very, very quickly. Things became more complicated. He needs to write SQL for non-trivial data requests, and here DBeaver can help him.
Yeah, as DBeaver has a very powerful SQL editor, it's actually contains all features which we are used to use in our everyday life when we work with some programming languages. So it has auto-completion, formatting, templates, hyperlinks, stuff like that. So quite powerful, and it's actually based on Eclipse framework for IDEs. Note that there are 4 ways to execute SQL queries in DBeaver. For individual queries, for scripts, for simultaneous execution of queries. Plus we have special ways to execute like row count, SQL expression, and stuff like that. SQL editor has lots of features and lots of shortcuts, so we created a special little book about that. You can get it after the presentation. They really simplify your life if you use shortcuts. Yeah, of course it has execution logs where you can monitor your queries you executed in the past and search them and manage them. Lots of stuff. For example, you can copy and paste your SQL code from and to your source code in any programming language like Java or Python. And DBeaver automatically converts your code into SQL and vice versa. Yeah, I think that's enough for SQL editor.
Yes, and everything is great. After some time, the Mike and Mary's project is in the production. But as usual, it's not the end of the story, it's on the beginning. It's the beginning of the further development, analysis, plans and improvements. As usual, startup project manager Mary doesn't have a lot of resources for development and cannot afford additional administrative UI tool in the project. She uses DBeaver instead, by recommendation from Mike. It's because DBeaver has a state-of-art data editor that helps her to view, analyze and edit data like in a spreadsheet. You can navigate by foreign keys just like in a web browser from the data editor. You can colorize the data according to their value. You can filter, you can sort them, and also you can transform column values to another format. For example, it can be useful for such format like epoch time or UUID. And of course, after you made changes in data editor, you can look through of them as a SQL script before saving into database. Yes, you really like you work with virtual table and make some changes. After that, you press save, and all your changes will be moved to your database. But more interesting thing for maybe managers and analysts is analytical panels. Two main of them, it's a grouping and a calculation. You can perform grouping operations, group data from the one or multi-columns by count or any other functions that can be useful for you. Or you can just count the values from your column in the calculation tab. Just select them and receive the main functions like count, minimum, maximum, sum, average, and something else. And of course, when you work with data regularly, it's not enough to work with only one table. You need to create quite complicated requests, and if you don't know the SQL language, like me for example, you can do this in the Visual Query Builder. And this is one important point, that when you receive the result of your request, you can work with the result like in standard data editor. So you can group, you can calc, you can sort, filter, and all of this stuff. So, okay, the time has passed. Mike and Mary keep working successfully, amount of users, statistics, and analytical data grew. Their service became popular, but at the same time it's slow and inefficient. If they won't change something in the project, everything will be very, very bad. They need to optimize database request or structure and do it very, very quickly.
Yeah, DBeaver has plenty of tools for managing what's going on with the server and to optimize them. First tool is a session manager. It actually monitors connections, client connections to a database, where you can see what's going on, which sessions consume too much resources, which lives for too long time, and so on. You can kill the sessions, pause them, and do various things. Actually, this depends on database, particular database. For example, for Oracle, we have more features than for MySQL, but generally it's the same functionality. So viewing sessions, you can eliminate unneeded ones. Also, you can execute query execution plans to see which queries are inefficient, find inefficient queries in the same session manager, because it's query execution analyzer is embedded in the session manager. So using these two tools, you can eliminate slow and inefficient queries. Besides that, of course, we have lots of different database-specific tools for database maintenance. For example, to optimize indexes, perform vacuum operations, gather table statistics to help query planner, or for example, to find transaction logs. It's quite a unique feature. We can show transactions which log each other in a graphical way. It's not in this presentation because it's a bit bigger than this presentation, but it's really a very helpful tool for DBAs. So yeah, DBeaver has almost everything you need to maintain your database.
And of course, it helped, but not for a long time. Eventually, things became even worse. There were too much data, too much statistics, and so even well-optimized SQL database wasn't capable to serve it. It's time for modern technologies, microservices, NoSQL, big data, and all of this. Mike and Mary decided to divide their application on microservices and migrate part of the SQL database to MongoDB and Cassandra.
Right. Well, DBeaver has a so-called data transfer wizard, which supports importing data from, for example, flat files, CSVs or TXTs into your tables, exporting data from database into flat files, or the most importantly, migrate data from different databases, from, for example, MySQL into Cassandra, from MongoDB into Postgre, and so on. There is a special mapping UI which lets you to say which tables, which columns will be connected to another tables and columns in another database, and map data types. So DBeaver will automatically try to determine the better data type in a target database, but of course you will need to check this manually because sometimes it can be decided automatically. In some cases it's not so important, like for MongoDB, because it don't have any data types besides strings and numbers, and it's easy, you don't need to define schema. DBeaver supports huge amounts of data for data migration. You can migrate billions of rows, but of course it will take some time.
Okay. The story of the project is never ending, and of course Mike and Mary will continue to work on their project and request new features, but we leave them here. If you also have questions or suggestions, please contact us on GitHub, read our news on Twitter and on our site. Please remember that almost all features mentioned in our story are not database specific and actual for any database, and just give them a try. And of course, if you have any questions, please contact us, visit our sites, write us, and we are always very open for the new contributors to our project. So I think that's it for today, and we are open for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the tool have some kind of deadlock monitoring system?
Yeah, it was on some slide, I believe, when I mentioned log manager. It's not on the screenshot, but yes, we can determine deadlocks of transactions which logs each other. Like it draws a tree, hierarchical view, and you can see in a table which transactions log each other. You can come after the meeting, and I will show in a real demo how it works. But it will need a real database with big number of transactions, because in regular database there are no logs, so it's kind of tricky.
In reality, we didn't show any live demo right now because unfortunately internet is not very well here, and we were afraid that something went wrong. But if you have any questions, and we are ready to show you every tip, every trick, every questions in live, so just ask it. So, other questions?
Does DBeaver support exporting DB units, XML files?
Yeah, it does.
Yes. In reality, we have a lot of different formats for export.
Yeah, I think 10 or more.
Yes, so you have a big chance that your favorite format will be in our export result.
Are features that you showed are available in the community edition?
Most of them, yes. But some of them, like for example, mock data generator, there is existing community and exist in enterprise, like more
advanced.
More advanced,
it contains
yes.
Bigger number of generators for
Yes.
specific things.
And of course, NoSQL databases are supported only in DBeaver Enterprise Edition. But for the main features that we described today, all of them exist in DBeaver community.
We don't have any special limitations or anything. It's fully functional without limitations. Just a few special features are included in Enterprise version, but
yes, for example, like a visual query builder as well.
yeah, but everything else is here in community.
Other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Maybe one more question that we really often to ask is about where is the difference between DBeaver and Eclipse data tool.
Yeah, data tool platform, sadly famous. Basically because it's already dead. It's not supported for like 6 or 7 years, and it's inconvenient. And you know, yeah, we're already much more popular on Eclipse Marketplace and everywhere. So, and actually, we are going to become an Eclipse project soon, and we hope that we will just replace data tools platform officially.
Yes, we believe it. So, any other questions? If not, please come, take stickers, take tips and tricks, and we are really open for any questions and live demo. So,
Yeah.
thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.